So there are times when organizations can just be a little tone deaf, and we found a Reddit post talking about a situation where NonProfit did just that. Let's check it out.
Hi, we are Ted and Lisa Snyder, and we are nonprofit consultants because we believe a better world needs healthier nonprofits. Now today, we are talking about a nonprofit who does a ton of stuff to help people. But what was interesting is we found this post that isn't necessarily talking about whether or not the nonprofit is successful or functional or doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it is email that was sent out to the employees about some recognition. And when we looked at it, we're like, oof, this is one of those things where they're talking to the right people. It's the people who are on board, who have committed to the organization. So we want to be in this with you.
Yep.
Or sign on to it. And this is an example of not the right action combined with the leader who might be a little bit disconnected. We need to read this.
Okay, so it says, "Dear colleagues, for many years we celebrated the holiday season by gathering for our annual holiday meal. Unfortunately, we are unable to be together for the holiday meal again this year." This is due to like COVID stuff, I'm guessing still. "But we still want to recognize your hard work and thank you for being a change maker. In late
Well, let's talk about it as we're going. This is interesting getting started. The subject is employee recognition, a holiday update. Starting out with dear colleagues, I'm guessing this is kind of a formal environment. I could be wrong. But I've seen a lot of organizations be like, hey, partners, hey, friends, hey, whatever. But I noticed right away, I'm like, they didn't even start with why. Like, they didn't explain why anything was changing. They didn't explain what was happening around situations. It was just, for many years, we've done this, and unfortunately, it won't be happening again. I'm hoping that the people heard about this ahead of time, but this would be such a disappointing way to say, by the way, you know our beloved holiday like traditions that we have? We're not doing them.
In late January, you will receive an email from Grubhub with a $10 food credit. The email will be sent to your email address. You can use your food credit to order a meal through the special Grubhub link included in the email." So instead of having like a big giant holiday party, they're sending everybody a $10 Grubhub, which if you've ever used
Grubhub
or any of those food services, which
nothing against them,
but $10 pays your fee to get the food sent to you. It's not like the food is on top of that $10 usually just to get it delivered. So they're basically saying, buy yourself some food.
Right. I don't know.
And like when you're telling me about this, I was just like, that's on a few different levels. That's the organizational leaders basically communicating to their employees saying, first of all, we don't really value you. We're going to throw like a pittance at you. And, you know, maybe they looked at their overall holiday budget and they looked at how much money, you know, broke down per person. They're like, oh, it's $10 a person. We'll just send everybody $10. What's the best way that we can, whatever. But like, they would have been better off just not sending it, because a $10 Grubhub coupon is like worse than nothing, I would think.
It's like this obligatory, so you're giving me a gift that now I have to spend money on food that I wasn't planning on ordering for myself. And maybe they were planning on it, but I mean, like, I'm looking at this, and here are a few things. One, this was sent out December 20th, 5 days before Christmas. Merry Christmas. We are not celebrating the holidays together. Here's a link that's not going to cover an actual gift for you. It's a really tough thing to have as an employee of any company, let alone a nonprofit. I remember I was talking to someone one year who just went above and beyond for their company. This was in the for-profit sector. And they got a raise of 15 cents an hour after being promised like an actual promotion. And I remember they told me, they said, it would have been better for them just to say, we're not paying you anything extra, because the amount was so small, given the amount of work that they had done. They were like, 0 raise plus a heartfelt thank you would have felt better than this 15-cent raise. And they subsequently quit their job coming out of that, because they're like, oh, I see how it is. And when I heard this, I was like, you are trading out for your organization a holiday meal with holiday traditions And not even saying, like, I'm so sorry. As a leader, I miss this. I wish I could be with you. I wish I could celebrate with you. I wish this could be different. But instead, you're sending out a $10 thing that isn't going to cover any of it, and really communicating that I don't even know what this communicates.
Well, it
just
also,
hurts.
I was gonna say, on the other level, this kind of communicates like, hey, I don't even know what your world is like. I don't know what you all deal with food and stuff, but I've heard that this Grubhub thing is what you lesser people do. So here's to help you with that. It's sort of what it communicates. Like, I don't do it enough to even know that this is nothing with the Grubhub coupon. Like, if I used it one time, I would know that this is basically like giving them a negative amount of money.
I remember I was talking to a staff member at a nonprofit, and they were trying to figure out what was going on. They were feeling so frustrated. And I was like, okay, tell me your frustrations. And they had plenty of vacation time. Their workload was kind of a lot, but they were like, but I like the work that I'm doing and all these things. But they were struggling to just be able to relax. Like when work carried them home and they weren't able to set those boundaries. Mm-hmm. They had gone to their leader and said, what can I do? Like, I need help with this. I can't, whatever. And the staff member was making fine money, but there wasn't wiggle room. I'll say that. And their leader looked at them and said, I don't know, go to Mexico for a couple of weeks. Take a vacation.
It's like, how do you think we have money to go to Mexico for a couple weeks?
And it wasn't that the leader suggested something like that. It was a combination of what was suggested and the way it was suggested that made the staff person look at their life and say, my leader has no idea what's going on. Maybe this isn't the right fit anymore. And that's a very difficult place because as leaders, as you move up within an organization, sometimes you can forget what it feels like to be in the grind of the work in the same capacity. Mm-hmm. Now, when you move up, I mean, it's not like the problems go away. You have other things you're dealing with.
Different kinds of problems.
Yep. But when something is sent out like this, the tone of it combined with what it is, it can be very, very hard, as I'm sure someone in this organization is going, what are we doing here?
Well, it's tricky because, like, in the for-profit sector, an email that goes out like this, people just go like, yeah, this is just the business being stupid, and like it's frustrating, but like it's corporate. They don't have a pulse on what's going on, so they don't really like, oh, we bought you a new water cooler. It's like we had a working one, like big whoop, But they're separate from us, so they don't really know. Well, in the nonprofit world, the expectation is that there's going to be some sort of care that's going back and forth that's at a higher level than the for-profit world. People in the for-profit world understand this is about the dollars and cents, and I get to go home at the end of the day, and I just get to not think about it. But in the nonprofit world, leaders have to have their fingers on the pulse of the people that are partnered with them. That includes donors, that includes volunteers, that includes people that are willing to share their network with you, and that includes staff, knowing that here's what the staff are kind of going through. So I need to be able to put myself in their shoes and think about, is this $10 Grubhub coupon going to be an insult, or is this going to be a blessing to them? Yeah. And they should have been able to say and think through this, or at least talk to a staff member, be like, hey, if we do this, will this be like, this just communicates like we are so far removed from you that we have no idea what your life is like. And that's kind of like, one of the things that keeps people around nonprofits is that connection with the organization and the connection with the leadership. So when you take that away and remind them through holiday pittance, then they're kind of like, now they're analyzing like, why do I even want to be here? It was one of the reasons that they were there, probably in a nonprofit job. Now they're thinking, why am I even here at all? They don't care.
Yeah. And I mean, they're probably asking too, if you don't know how to care about me, do you know how to care about other people that we're coming into contact with? Not necessarily the people that the organization is helping, because if it's successful, which given kind of the setup definitely was or is, but it's just that idea that people start to be like, what's happening here? Like there's a disconnect between the care that's being offered for the people and care that's being offered to us. And yes, they're different. It's not going to be the same type of care, but there does need to be that connection where people feel like they can trust the organization and the leadership within it. Because in nonprofit, you're generally not getting paid as much as you would be paid in a for-profit role. And when that happens, there is something else that people are anticipating as part of it. Part of it, yes, is the fact that you're making a difference and you're doing good work, but there's also another side of it. They end this by saying, although it is disappointing to put some of our beloved holiday traditions on hold again for a third year. So she's recognizing the disappointments. She says, I hope the small gift will help brighten your holidays and remind you of how grateful I am for everything you do for us.
It doesn't communicate a lot of gratitude when the gift is small. What are some options, some things that they could have done that would have been better?
Here's the thing. If they have beloved holiday traditions, my guess is that the people within the organization probably, there were probably some holiday traditions that weren't food related that they could have still integrated within their organization. Whether it's maybe the organization every year does something where everyone writes down what their favorite memory from the last year was. Maybe you can't get together and do it because of what's going on, but maybe you have a way where it's hey, we set up this email, send in your memories, and we're going to compile a PDF that everyone can look at so that we can share our memories with each other.
There are lots of free options that don't cost $10 a person.
Maybe it's doing some sort of Zoom meeting where it's hey, listen, we're going to send you $10. We know it's not a lot, but put it toward whatever food you're going to get. And we're going to have a meal together, each at our screens, and let's dress up as if it's the holiday. And we're going to find a way to play some games. There are ways that you can still bring in the traditions and do the traditions without it having to be the exact same way. But you don't want to lose the traditions.
Right.
Losing traditions is... I can't explain, there are bad traditions or bad things that organizations do that they do because they've always done. But if there's something that's beloved, if there's something that your organization holds on to and loves, it is terrible to lose those and not find a way to keep the string and keep that continuity going for everyone involved.
I was going to say, too, as a nonprofit organization, you have the benefit of everybody who works and partners with your organization being united around a vision, right? And one of the reasons that they're there is because of the vision. They could have easily said, hey, you guys know, because of all of the logistics and stuff with COVID, we're still not able to get together for our big holiday thing. We've talked to a few employees, so actually have conversations with your people and see what they want. We've talked with a few employees and we realized that rather than spending our annual budget for this holiday thing, we thought it might be more beneficial to take that money and put it toward helping this family or something like that, right? Because then people would be like, hey, you know what? I don't get to have a holiday party, but someone's having a better Christmas. Yeah. And people in nonprofit will resonate with that. That's part of the reason they work in nonprofit.
We're doing even more now.
Yeah, because they care about it. So just kind of thinking through, is what we're doing to thank people so puny that it feels like an insult? If that's the case, you either need to find out how to invest more so it doesn't feel like an insult, or change, flip the paradigm a little bit so that way it communicates something that's useful and helpful for your organization that brings people together and serves the purpose of what you were trying to do with these holiday get-togethers.
Yes. Now, one big thing that I'd say too is even if this is how this organization chose to do it, there are simple ways to change the way it's communicated that actually bring honor and value to the people that you're communicating. So even if it's the wrong move, if you word it in a way that shows a little bit more value, people are going to be more willing to say, they tried. That was a misstep, but they tried. And really, it's partly the act and partly the way that this is worded. I mean, even if they would have said, hey, change makers, first of all, thank you so much. We recognize that we absolutely could not do any of this without you. And I'm just so grateful that you're in our organization. I'm grateful that you're helping. And I wish that I could do more. But unfortunately, again, this year, we just aren't able to gather.
Yeah.
Listen, what we've been able to figure out is we can send you a $10 gift card through Grubhub. I fully recognize this does not really adequately show how much I care about you, how grateful I am for you, the work that you've done, everything that you've accomplished. And so I recognize that this barely counts as a token, but I hope on some level it maybe just brightens one of your days just a little bit. And I hope that if you're able to get some food with it or however you choose to use it, that you enjoy it and that you're able to take some time with someone near you or some time on your own to just, help your holiday season. The email will be coming out shortly. You'll find details in there. If this is something where you're like, you know what, $10, not like, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to use it, please let me know because we would be happy to donate it to a family who needs it this Christmas on your behalf. Either way.
And then you got a win on your hands rather than a lose.
Either way, we just super appreciate you. I can't say enough good things about you. Since we can't do the holiday party, we're trying to brainstorm something that we could do together, maybe this spring or summer when the weather's better. If you have ideas, please let me know. I'm trying my best. Lisa, like that would be my, this says with my best wishes. I'd be like, I'm trying, guys. Like
I'm trying.
It doesn't sound as like professional and polished, but
people don't really want polish as much. I mean, maybe some environment. I feel like most people don't like that though, unless you're like unless you're trying to keep like a level of we're not, we're only professional and there's no other connection, then it's okay to use that kind of language. I think like in the business setting, in the for-profit, that's totally fine because you don't want people to think their boss is their dad. That's weird.
You don't really want that in nonprofit either.
But I'm just saying, like,
it's just a little bit more.
It's
more acceptable to be
sterilizes
casual.
it. Yeah. But if you sterilize nonprofit communication, it feels icky.
Yeah. It feels wrong, and people do not respond well to it. The same email in for-profit would just come across differently, but because it's nonprofit, it changes the angle of it. And here's the thing: like I gave an example of how I would word it, but like if you're going to word something like that, you actually have to mean it though. People know if you are distant, removed, a little bit more sterile, you don't show a lot of gratitude, and then suddenly you're gushing in an email.
Right. You have to be honest.
You have to be honest. But unfortunately, my best assumption is I honestly think that this person was being honest and was trying to find a way to do something, and it just did not come out the way that they were.
So if you're thinking about this and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out ways to make sure that I am keeping trust in my organization rather than losing trust with our organization. We actually have a video all about that. You can click on that right now. It's on the screen, and we'll see you guys over there in that video.